Back here at the Daytona International Speedway, we are minutes away from the second 125-mile qualifying race.
Away, hurdling into turn number 1. And they stack them 5 deep in the back, David, as they get underway.
Well, they sure are 5 deep. One guy scraping down the road and the other guy on the flat in the infield. They're sorting themselves out as they go into turn 1, and there we have the front row still side by side. Darrell Waltrip in his new livery in number 11. And alongside him, Harry Gant, and there's Buddy Baker coming down the inside in car number 1.
3 deep.
4 of Brees.
On the move, A.J. Foyt. Foyt going down the inside into third. Super Tex, A.J. Foyt into third. 1972 Daytona 500-mile champion. Foyt goes up on the outside to wrestle with Darrell Waltrip and try to move around Buddy Baker. Baker on the inside, nose to nose at the end of lap number 1. It'll be Buddy Baker out in front. Baker leading. It is Waltrip in second. And look at this sandwich. Labonte tries to get in there.
Absolutely side by side as they went out of the tri-oval, just touching each other and just scraping the wall there, I think, was Darrell in number 11.
Waltrip on the outside. Hangs in. A.J. Foyt stays right with him. Labonte comes back on the inside and tries to move up some ground. Number 24, Cecil Gordon, pulls on pit road. Field coming around to complete lap number 2. The man who won the fastest 500-mile race in history 1 year ago here on this 2.5-mile high bank track. Buddy Baker is in front, but here comes Waltrip down the inside. Waltrip goes out in front. Darrell Waltrip of Franklin, Tennessee, now your leader. He's never won the Daytona 500. He'll sure be trying tomorrow. Now A.J. Foyt presses on the inside. But Baker drives away. Baker back into second. Number 24, Cecil Gordon with problems, overheating.
A.J. Foyt putting on a heck of a display here, running in third spot as Buddy Baker pulls out, and A.J. Foyt pulls out to try and get by both the leaders. And Buddy Baker pulls A.J. Foyt down alongside Darrell Waltrip, but not this time.
Waltrip fights off Foyt, but lets Baker through, and it is Foyt falling back as Harry Gant goes to third. Foyt falls to fourth, and moving up on the outside is car number 15. Slicing his way through, Benny Parsons in his new colors for Bud Moore. The last time that 50 went to victory lane here was with Bobby Allison at the controls for Bud Moore.
Back there in 7th place is Richard Petty, running his usual high line around the banking as Buddy Baker again leads this race. They come up turn 2, which is proving to be notoriously difficult today because of the strong wind blowing up the straight, upsetting these cars. They come down off that high bank turn 2.
Waltrip back in front, Gant into second. And here comes Benny Parsons into third, falling to fourth is car number 1. Buddy Baker back to fourth, A.J. Foyt is in fifth.
Benny Parsons also driving it forward like Neil Bonnet, and we've seen that these Fords, in fact, seem to draft pretty well against these GM products with the new downsized cars. Waltrip, and a crash there, number 49.
Dinwiddie, Harry Dinwiddie slams the wall.
Bouncing back into the track, but luckily he was running at the tail of the field and there's no one to follow him up.
Harry Dinwiddie trying to get it under control and brings it down. Dinwiddie in big trouble as he came out of the fourth turn. They are under caution.
That is a really bad place to have trouble because that's one of the places where the wall comes at right angle to the track, and if you hit it very, very hard.
2 drivers in practice out here have crashed in that same turn. Stan Barrett crashed at 190 miles per hour in the Hal Needham Burt Reynolds car in practice, and earlier one of the Richard Childress cars crashed the same place and just demolished the machines.
Well, these guys are all racing for the field, for the flag. This is one of the inequities of NASCAR racing. These guys have got to race past the crash to take the flag.
Baker will take the flag. Waltrip will be second, Parsons third, Gant fourth, Labonte fifth, Petty sixth, A.J. Foyt seventh, and across the line in eighth was Tom Sneva. Knoxville, Tennessee's Harry Dinwiddie still in his automobile. Look and replay at what happened here.
Well, he comes off the turn there, turn 4, slides across those service roads, lifts off the road there, slams into that retaining wall which is governing that part of the pits in the field hospital, bounces back across pit entry, up onto the track, swings round again and slides back down into the infield. As I said, luckily no one was following him, so he had a pretty clear run.
Misfortune has followed Dinwiddie. He made his first effort in Grand National Racing, Riverside, California, failed to qualify, and now has been injured here in this 125-mile qualifier for tomorrow's Daytona 500. Laps remaining in the second 125-mile qualifier, with the lead ping-ponging among 7 drivers. Harry Dinwiddie reported from the field hospital as all right.
The Grandmaster moves in, the 6-time Daytona champion. In 1962, when Fireball Roberts won this race, some kid named Richard Petty was in second place. Here he is, out in front now by 3 car lengths in this 125-mile qualifier. And from the grandstand, as the folks in the chairs are watching today, here comes Petty. And they're up. Highly respected, sincerely loved by racing enthusiasts throughout America. Petty is back in front. Waltrip is in second, and you have 7 cars battling for the lead as time trickles out in this 125-mile qualifier. Richard Petty looks like he wants to pull away. I don't believe he can do it, David.
Well, I find it hard to believe he can, with the strength that Darrell Waltrip's been showing, and of course Darrell flexing his muscles again as he takes Richard Petty and retakes the lead, going into 3. That's the favorite place to pass today. It's at the end of that back straight, into a headwind, and that's where the draft is going to work best of all, when they pull out and slingshot by.
What a sensational finish we are building for. 12 laps to go when they come by. There's Dale Inman, Richard Petty's first cousin. Richard Petty's brother Maurice, on the day of this 125, is back at level cross, still putting engines together for tomorrow's 500, just in case they needed one after today. Third is Buddy Baker. The speed, just fantastic. The driving, incredible in these brand new, shorter, narrower, but same weight automobiles, as we saw a year ago as far as weight. Here's Baker down the inside. Buddy Baker pressing, goes into second place. An unrelenting Baker who will be trying for his second straight Daytona 500 victory after trying from 1961 on to win this race. Waltrip in first, Baker in second, Petty on the high side, through the tri-oval. Back to turn 1. Cars in the lead draft. When they come by this time, 10 to go. Waltrip, he goes out in front by 6 car lengths, and then the field begins to reel him in, overhaul him. Baker pulling up. Baker's going to go for first place. Do you believe it? It's just a qualifier. Waltrip's already in the field, David.
This is the race that none of them were going to try very hard in, if you remember.
Yes, they all said this was just going to be a test. There was no sense really taking chances. Look at them. Over 190 miles per hour. Inches apart. Gordon goes back to the inside. Talk about competitive spirit. Here it comes. 21 lead changes thus far in this 125-miler.
And this is just half of what you're going to see tomorrow in the Daytona 500, because we're going to have all the other qualifiers from the first race that we've already seen, which was also a tremendously competitive affair with Neil Bonnet showing a great deal of form, and of course Bobby Allison also. Buddy Baker comes down to the inside. This is the favorite passing spot today as they go into turn 3.
This is what it's all about. The sweet nectar of racing. Some of the great champions going at it, changing, exchanging the lead, lap after lap. Down they come out of 4. An incredible squadron of race cars. Doing what they do absolutely better than anyone in the world. Running inches apart, wearing each other down, intimidating, moving around, using the draft. Remember, the second place car can actually move the first place car around in a draft out here. He can move him over 4 or 5 feet. And the intimidation, the shuffling that's going on out there right now, well, you're going to see it, because we'll have cameras inside the car for you tomorrow for the 500. Waltrip back in the lead. Richard Petty going to second. How about that?
Benny Parsons back there in 4th spot, but I certainly wouldn't discount him with 9 laps to go. Benny Parsons showed a lot of form early on in this race, and he could be just biding his time. And right behind him is Richard Petty, then Terry Labonte in number 44. Terry Labonte, who drove so incredibly well at Riverside just 4 weeks ago.
Some of the back of the field coming by now. Leaders coming down out of the first and second turn area with 8 laps to go.
Richard Petty still there. Always a sleeper here. When asked the other day why he didn't show more speed here, more pole positions, he said, well, he reckoned he just lulled some of them off to sleep, and then he was always there at the end.
Not ever a strong qualifier. Pole positions are not the forte of Richard Petty. Wins are where he's at. Here he comes, up on the outside. He's taking a shot at the leader, Waltrip, in the one spot he likes the best. He loves to pass the tri-oval, and most people, they carry a shadow about that area. It's a very foreboding part of the track. One of Petty's favorites.
I noticed that with that strong headwind down the back straight, there's very little side-by-side motoring in turns 1 and 2. If they're going to go side-by-side, they seem to prefer it as they're coming into 3 now, into 3 and 4. They seem to be prepared to go side-by-side, and that's all part of these new, slightly nervous, twitchy cars. And, of course, they're practicing for tomorrow. And Darrell Waltrip has said already that he's worried about the people having stamina, because these cars are difficult to control. They're going to have to work very hard tomorrow, and he's worried that some of the slower guys are going to find it very hard work for 500 miles. I think he's worried he's going to find it hard work himself for 500 miles.
6 laps to go. Count on toward the finish. Petty had the lead briefly. Waltrip has taken it back. 5 laps to go this time by. Trouble in turn number 1. A car out of control. Sliding down into the first turn. Car number 99. Breaking away was Tim Richmond, Rookie of the Year at the Indianapolis 500-miler a year ago. He was running in 10th position. I don't know if he touched anything or simply exploded an engine, but Tim Richmond has brought out a caution flag with 5 to go. This could set up one sprint to the finish.
And Richard Petty and Benny Parsons crossed the line there almost side by side. Look at those marks.
They're racing back to the flag.
Nearly 1,000 feet long as Tim Richmond got away from that very, very luckily. Some of the accidents we've seen today, and here we see him breaking loose.
Leaders have raced through. They have come under the flag and are now slowed down to the back straightaway.
Richmond just lost control coming through the tri-oval. Slid down out of the tri-oval, across the apron, down as if he was going to go onto the road course and across the grass.
Truly the longest walk in sport, this time for Tim Richmond. We'll be back with a finish. It'll be a 1-lap sprint of the second 125-mile qualifying race at Daytona in a moment. Getting ready for one finish that may demand widescreen coverage, David.
Well, they'll probably be running about 5 cars wide.
Pace car is coming in. Green is about to go out. This is it. 1 lap to go.
They finish the 49th, move into the 50th. Waltrip pulling away. Petty gets a very smooth start. Parsons in third. Going fourth is Baker. Foyt is in fifth. Labonte jumps to the inside. Labonte trying to pick up some spots as they hurtle down into turn number 1. Waltrip pulling away. Here comes Parsons down the inside. Petty falling to third. Baker in fourth.
A.J. Foyt and Terry Labonte, the Texans, side by side as they go down their back straight. And look at that, Labonte sliding up into 4th spot.
Photo finish camera is in position. Here they come for the finish. Petty on the high side. Benny Parsons is out in front. This is it. Racing from the world center of speed down to the line, throwing a block is Parsons. He tries to hold off Baker. They're coming across. Waltrip does it on the inside. Waltrip went down to the grass, right down to the apron, and made a move to take it all. For a guy who said these races didn't mean anything, which is exactly what he told David and I this morning, Waltrip looked like he got a little serious at the finish, David.
Waltrip really stuck his neck out there. He got his inside wheels on the flat apron of this track. And he's got 2 wheels on the bank and 2 on the apron, and that really unsettles these cars.
Boy, his banker's going to be happy about that one. Let's take a look at that photo finish another time. Now you see them coming in. There's the move to the inside.
Benny throws the block on him, moves down. There's no way a car can get between him and that white line. And look at Darrell. He's on the apron there at the bottom of the track as he squeezes Benny up and just beats him out. Old Benny will be, language will be blue in that car.
What a preview for CBS's Sunday flag-to-flag coverage of the Daytona 500. Let's go to Ned Jarrett with the winner.
Waltrip pulls it into Victor Lane with a big smile on his face. You must like our CBS cameras, Darrell. The second time you've been here within a week.
Well, let me tell you, that was not a routine win, I would say. I knew when that caution come out there at the end that I had my hands full because the whole pack was going to be on me. And that was a little bit of a daring move at the finish line, but the car is working pretty good, and I thought I'd be okay. So I'm just tickled to death. Junior and all this Mountain Dew crew is just doing me one swell of a job, and I couldn't be happier.
Darrell, some people thought that you might have backed off and let Parsons go by so you could pick up the draft and shoot back past him.
Well, that's exactly right. When they draft, there's so much headwind that the other cars will really run up on you. And so I knew that somebody was going to get by. I wanted one car to get by, and then I wanted to fall in behind him. And Benny couldn't have been a better car because his car's a little box here, and he couldn't run quite as quick as I could, I didn't think. And I didn't know if I was going to have room to get by or not. That was the only thing I was worried about.
Darrell, how about these cars now? You have some experience with them in this 125-miler. Do you feel better about them?
Not really. The wind off of 2 over there absolutely scare you to death. And the car just jumping and turning sideways. It was really quite a ride.
Well, he gave it quite a ride, and he wound up in victory lane.
One more look at the finish here, Ken, and we see Darrell Waltrip below the white line, just hugging the edge of the banking. At this point, I'm willing to bet the car took over, and wisely, Benny Parsons gave him racing room, lost the battle, but maybe won the war for all of them.
And there are the final standings. A.J. Foyt winding up in 5th, Richard Petty in 4th, Baker 3rd, Parsons 2nd. As an observer, I would say that perhaps Darrell Waltrip made a bad call. He could have wiped out about 7 automobiles in a 125-mile qualifier, and there are no backup machines here that could be rebuilt in time for the 500.
Well, in the interview, he called it a daring move. I suspect that there's about 9 drivers out there who won't be using that same word right now. I think myself, as I said in the tape, he stuck his neck out. It was a bit of a foolhardy move. The car definitely got away from him there, and if Benny Parsons hadn't given him room, there could have been a tremendous crash right here on the start-finish line.
Another one of those controversies that comes up annually when they prepare to run the Daytona 500. But now we're down to it. The 23rd annual Daytona 500. 42 cars, 21 rows of machines will be rolling starting at 12:15 tomorrow, and you'll see it all live on CBS. Now, there's your starting front row. Bobby Allison driving the car that Buddy Baker stormed to victory in 1 year back, alongside his Darrell Waltrip, still looking for his